Michael C. Hall's casting and near rejections. Michael C. Hall's casting as Dexter Morgan was a unique process defined by initial hesitation and eventual perfect alignment between actor and character. Hall, who had previously gained acclaim portraying David Fisher on HBO's 6 Feet Under, was initially not the unanimous choice for Dexter. The series creator Jeff Lindsay, author of the Dexter novels, was reportedly skeptical of Hall's fit for the role until he heard him speak a single line from the script during an early rehearsal. This moment changed Lindsay's mind, as Hall brought a subtle but compelling interpretation that captured Dexter's dual nature: the cold, methodical serial killer and the outwardly charming forensic analyst. Hall himself was hesitant to take the role, aware of the risks in playing a psychopath and the possibility of typecasting. Yet he embraced the challenge, contributing heavily to the show's dark tone blended with moments of dry humor. The casting team bypassed a traditional audition because of Hall's strong theater background and previous TV work, seeing him as uniquely capable of embodying Dexter's complexity. His portrayal earned numerous accolades, including a Golden Globe and multiple Emmy nominations. This casting decision proved pivotal, as Hall's nuanced performance became the cornerstone for Dexter's identity across all affiliated series and spin-offs, including Dexter New Blood and Dexter Resurrection, where he continued to evolve the character with maturity and depth. The casting of Hall also uniquely influenced the production style. The subtle shifts in voice, mannerisms, and internal conflict portrayed through Hall's acting style instituted a blueprint for the show's approach to character-driven suspense and psychological depth. Hall's ability to fluctuate between charm and menace allowed viewers to empathize with a character who was fundamentally a killer, a delicate balance rarely achieved in television history. His performance expanded the role of anti-hero in modern TV storytelling and set a high bar for all future portrayals of Dexter, shaping the series into a long-standing cultural phenomenon. Actors considered before Michael C. Hall. Before finalizing Michael C. Hall, the Dexter casting process considered a diverse range of actors from various acting backgrounds. Initial names floated included Judd Nelson, a staple of 1980s cinema known for intense teen roles; Ben Stiller, whose comedic prowess could have reshaped Dexter with a darker comedic edge; John Cryer, admired for his versatility in both comedy and drama; John Cusack, who could add intellectual intensity and subtle charm; and Charlie Sheen, who might have injected a sharper, edgier persona. Beyond these, industry rumors and casting discussions mentioned James Spader, Emilio Estevez, Sean Penn, Macaulay Culkin, Matthew Broderick, Andrew McCarthy, and Dan Aykroyd as early considerations during show development stages. Each actor carried the potential to drastically alter the character of Dexter Morgan. For instance, the presence of a more overtly charismatic or edgy actor like Sheen or Spader could have shifted the show's tone toward a grittier, more overt psychological thriller. Conversely, actors with a natural comedic timing like Stiller or Cryer might have injected lighter tonal elements, challenging the balance of darkness and humor that Hall eventually embodied. This initial wide net of candidates demonstrates how uncertain the producers were about the exact tone and style of Dexter, and how critical Hall's casting was to defining the final form. These early considerations also reflect how producers weighed star power and acting style versus finding an actor who could authentically walk the line between Dexter's sociopathic tendencies and his concealed humanity. The eventual casting of Hall, who was not as widely known at the time but possessed extensive theatrical experience and an ability to approach the character with subtlety rather than bombast, anchored the series' unique identity. Such thorough vetting shows the importance of the casting director's vision and the producer's experimental mentality in shaping a complex TV landmark. Actors who auditioned or were seriously considered. Several actors auditioned or were seriously considered for the role of Dexter Morgan before Michael C. Hall was cast, reflecting the producer's search for the right tone and presence that would embody the character's complex duality. One notable actor was James Purefoy, who never publicly confirmed an official audition but has been repeatedly mentioned in fan lore and discussions. Purefoy, known for his charismatic and magnetic presence, was considered a potential fit. However, producers felt that his style leaned more toward playing openly charming and intense characters, whereas Dexter required a more subtle, awkward, and seemingly ordinary persona who could hide a darker side beneath a facade of normalcy. This distinction was crucial in casting. Dexter had to feel like a believable ordinary man, masking his secret life as a serial killer. Jeremy Renner, now famous for his roles in major franchises, was another actor strongly linked to the Dexter role in early casting talks. Renner himself admitted in interviews that taking the role felt risky because it might typecast him as a serial killer, especially considering the proximity to other roles he was taking at the time. Renner ultimately declined the part, which left the door open for Hall. Interestingly, Renner was also considered later for the role of Brian Moser, Dexter's villainous brother and the ice truck killer. His refusal to take any serial killer roles at the time meant that another actor filled that critical villainous role. The presence of someone like Renner could have altered not only the portrayal of Dexter but also the dynamic and menace of the show's first season's main antagonist. Christian Camargo, who eventually portrayed Brian Moser, also auditioned for the lead role as Dexter. Camargo's quiet intensity and layered performance style impressed the producers. However, they eventually decided his energy and demeanor were a better fit for Dexter's brother, the ice truck killer. Camargo's portrayal of Brian brought a haunting vulnerability and unsettling charm that made the character a memorable and chilling presence. The casting choice highlighted the importance of energy and tone for these complex roles, and how different actors' strengths shape the storytelling. Fans often speculate how the series might have shifted had Camargo been cast as Dexter and Michael C. Hall been cast as Brian, showing how casting choices can pivotally define a show's direction. Mark Pellegrino, another actor from the Dexter cast, also auditioned for Dexter but was instead cast as Paul Bennett, Rita's abusive husband. His portrayal of Paul brought a believable and impactful emotional weight to the role, showcasing a different kind of moral complexity on the show. Although he missed the lead part, Pellegrino's role still resonated as a crucial element in early Dexter seasons, demonstrating that casting for supporting roles remained carefully considered to balance the story's darker themes. Another curious name that surfaced during early development was Macaulay Culkin. He was considered for Dexter because of his boyish, innocent look combined with his occasional dark performances, such as in Party Monster. The producers toyed with the idea that casting someone with a seemingly harmless and familiar face could amplify the shock value of Dexter's dual nature. While this idea was rejected, it illustrates the experimental casting approach to convey the disturbing contrast between Dexter's outward normality and inner darkness. Lastly, several other high-profile actors were rumored to have been on the list for Dexter in earlier stages, although specific details about their auditions remain unconfirmed. The range of names reflects the industry's awareness of Dexter's potential as a complex character requiring a distinct blend of relatability and menace. Each actor would have brought their own unique flavor, possibly shifting the tone from darkly comedic thriller to more overtly dramatic or psychologically intense narratives. How different actors would have changed the show's dynamic. The actors considered for Dexter Morgan each brought different energies and acting styles that suggest how the show's tone and audience reception might have evolved if one of them had landed the role instead of Michael C. Hall. For example, James Purefoy's natural charisma and smooth intensity could have made Dexter a more openly magnetic and confident character. While compelling, this might have reduced the sense of Dexter as a man hiding quietly in the shadows and elevated him to a more dominant, almost theatrical figure. This shift could have made the series feel less like an intimate psychological drama and more like a thriller centered on an anti-hero who embraces his darkness more overtly. Jeremy Renner's intensity and brooding screen presence might have created a tougher, more rugged Dexter, possibly less awkward and less carefully masked in his social interactions. Renner's decision to decline largely shaped the character as Hall portrayed him, a man whose charm was understated and whose menace was revealed layer by layer, making viewers uneasy yet empathetic. Had Renner accepted, Dexter might have skewed slightly toward a more aggressive, visibly volatile vigilante killer, rather than the restrained, calculating persona Hall embodied. Christian Camargo's casting as Dexter would have likely introduced a psychological complexity, marked by his penchant for vulnerability and subtle darkness. His performance style brought a quieter menace to Brian Moser, and if had he played Dexter, the show might have delved even deeper into Dexter's internal struggles and identity crises. This more tormented and introspective Dexter would have offered a nuanced take on the character's dual nature, but possibly at the cost of some of the dark humor and social awkwardness that Hall infused. Macaulay Culkin's potential casting would have dramatically altered the show's initial impact. Culkin's familiar face, associated with innocence and childhood nostalgia, crossing over with a dark and sinister killer, could have skewed the show toward a shocking, almost surreal contrast. This version of Dexter might have been received as more experimental or avant-garde, using the unexpectedness of Culkin's casting as a shock tactic rather than grounding the character in realistic emotional ambiguity. Actors like Edward Norton, Paul Bettany, and David Tennant were also at one point mentioned in casting speculation during early development phases, some considering the show for possible film or UK co-production versions. Each could have brought distinct qualities: Norton's intensity and raw emotional depth, Bettany's cold, calculating demeanor, and Tennant's charm coupled with a sinister undertone. The show's tone in these versions might have leaned more towards psychological thriller or dark drama grounded in the broader spectrum of human flaws and moral ambiguity, possibly darker and more intense, with less of the dry humor Hall became known for. Overall, these alternative casting choices suggest the show could have ranged from intensely psychological, dramatically dark interpretations to more overtly charismatic, shock value performances. Michael C. Hall's portrayal struck a balance that maintained Dexter's relatability and human complexity, while allowing viewers to engage with both his charm and his chilling nature. Changing the actor fundamentally could have shifted this delicate balance, impacting the show's pacing, audience empathy, and critical acclaim, as well as its cultural legacy. Casting in Dexter New Blood and Dexter Original Sin. Dexter New Blood, released in 2021, marked the return of Michael C. Hall as Dexter Morgan, continuing from the original series but set years later. Hall's return was pivotal for continuity, anchoring the revival in familiar territory for longtime fans. In this series, a significant casting and narrative shift involved the character of Harry Morgan, Dexter's father and moral guide, traditionally portrayed as Dexter's hallucinated dark passenger. Instead of James Remar, who originally played Harry, Christian Slater was cast in Dexter Original Sin, a prequel series set years before the original show, portraying a younger Harry Morgan. This casting choice distinguished the prequel's timeline and tone, offering a fresh take on Harry's influence over Dexter's early years. Meanwhile, in New Blood, Deborah Morgan's ghost, played by Jennifer Carpenter, replaced Harry as Dexter's dark passenger, reflecting his guilt and evolving psyche. This shift added a new emotional layer to Dexter's character development in the revival. The prequel series Dexter Original Sin introduced Patrick Gibson as a young Dexter Morgan, showing his transition from a student to a vigilante serial killer. Christian Slater's Harry represented an earlier stage in the family's legacy. However, in Dexter Resurrection, James Remar returned as Harry Morgan, re-establishing continuity with the original series. This return means Dexter Resurrection is undoing some changes from New Blood, notably bringing Harry back as Dexter's dark passenger, replacing Deb's ghost role. The casting choices across these series emphasize different narrative explorations. New Blood and Original Sin operate as distinct timelines with their own actors, while Resurrection seeks to unify the franchise's core characters, leveraging legacy casting for familiarity and consistency. Other returning cast members in Dexter Resurrection include David Zayas as Angel Batista and Jack Alcott as Harrison Morgan, Dexter's son. The new series also introduced notable actors, such as Uma Thurman and Peter Dinklage, in major roles, diversifying the cast while maintaining key original connections. Overall, casting in these follow-ups and spin-offs reflects deliberate creative decisions to balance legacy with fresh storytelling, impacting how the Dexter mythos is expanded and revisited. Other noteworthy near-castings and behind-the-scenes tidbits. Beyond the known main cast shifts, several high-profile actors were almost involved in the Dexter franchise, revealing how casting choices could have dramatically altered the show's tone and character dynamics. Kevin Spacey, for instance, expressed interest in a major villain role, which would have brought his intense screen presence into the Dexter universe and potentially shifted viewer reception of the show's antagonists. Although this did not happen, the possibility illustrates the production's ambition to cast critically acclaimed talent. In addition, the evolving role of Dexter's dark passenger, from Harry Morgan to Deborah Morgan's ghost and back, had significant casting implications, especially involving Jennifer Carpenter, who played Deborah. Her involvement in New Blood as Dexter's new moral compass added emotional weight, while her absence from Dexter Resurrection suggests possible narrative and casting challenges explored through different actor availability and story priorities. Next, we'll break down every part of Harry's code. The set of rules that shaped Dexter's actions, defined his vigilante logic, and made him into who we all love to watch.